my next question is really, what advice would you give to the small business owner who they have salespeople and maybe they're not really thrilled with where they are today? They really want to see those salespeople grow. What advice would you give to the small business owner in that case?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, right? So, you see somebody that has some potential and how do you get them to the next level? And of course, the sad reality is not everybody can grow. It is what it is. There are some people that what we call they're coachable and trainable, and that's a good thing. And when I interview companies, I'm always trying to figure that out first. You're like, are these people that want, do they want to be here? Do they see that there's areas of improvement, or are they just saying, are they coming in kicking and screaming?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's never going to work.
Right.
So I think the first thing is, you got to make sure you have the right people on the team. As a small business owner, you have to make sure, are your people admitting faults? Do they want to get better? It is really hard to get someone to grow when they don't want to grow or they don't see the weaknesses in themselves. So I would say, in terms of helping people immediately, obviously it could be signing them up for programs like myself, but it might not be me, right? There might be even a better, more appropriate program for that person. But, I think you always got to find help. Always got to find help. Even I have a coach, I hire a coach. I work with this person frequently because I don't know everything. And that, you need more brains.
Yeah.
And that's your profession. You understand that well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. You can't fix people who aren't, or work with people who aren't willing and open to new ideas and to learning. But those skills, like you said, they have to recognize, the owner, small business owner has to recognize that, again, this really is a skill set people have to know. And so if you don't have the time as a salesperson, if you've done a great job, as the owner, if you've done a great job of running your company, but you don't have the time, nor have you necessarily learned those skills, I think that's important to then bring in somebody who can help. So that makes really great sense. Of those people maybe that are on your team who need more motivation, how do you motivate somebody in sales to improve and do better?
Yeah, and that's an excellent question. It's one of the questions we probably hear maybe in the top 5, right? So how do you motivate salespeople? Well, the answer nobody wants to hear, but it's similar to the answer I gave before, is that the real answer is you can't. So we'll start with that, right? It's really hard to motivate people. When you're in sales, you really need to have what we call that fire in the belly. You have to want to succeed. You have to want to grow. Let's face it, sales is money. All right. It's not about greed, but it is about money, and you hire someone to make the company money. So that person has to want that money, and they have to want to grow. And if they're not built that way, it's going to be hard. I mean, I will tell you, one of the biggest problems small business owners have today, especially right now with what's going on in the world, is they're hanging on to salespeople too long.
Right.
And they, especially during this period, some people think, well, I can't find anyone right now, so I'm just going to keep the person that's not doing that well. It's just not true. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that would be willing to jump into another company. I know many of them right now. But owners don't look at it that way. So the tough part is it's very difficult to motivate people. Yeah. However, you can do things to help them get there if they are motivated, but they don't know the direction. You can, let's look at KPIs or key performance indicators and try to show them the data in their craft. Like, hey, are you aware that when you go and make cold calls, your close rate is 1 to 3%? But yet when you go out and meet people at events, of course, not doing that much right now, but your close rate goes up to maybe 10 to 15%. So, let's look at doing more of that maybe instead of cold calling. So helping them with the data and these KPIs can be tremendous of someone that doesn't understand how to do that. And quite frankly, I like to say, and again, it's not meant to be self-serving, but when people go to training of any kind, and if they can learn one thing that makes their job easier, faster, better, it's motivating.
Right.
So don't you find that true with clients of your own? They get motivated because they see something that's working better. It gets them excited So they're motivated. So that's the other part of the equation.
Yeah. Motivation, definitely. I think a lot of people think that those external things that they do will motivate people, but there's been so much psychological research that shows that the intrinsic reason. So I want to do it because maybe I'm learning stuff. Maybe there's a real reason internally that makes me want to be successful versus you're just going to throw extra bonuses on top of things. Not that those can't motivate the right person, but in most cases, that isn't what motivates folks. It's really, like you said, it's showing that you care about them, you're supporting them, you're trying to help them solve the problems that they're having. That is probably much more motivational than just throwing stuff at them because, that doesn't always, and most small business owners have probably seen this because most of them have tried those things and they haven't always worked. So I think you're right. It has to come from an internal motivation, and solving the problem probably makes a whole lot more sense than just bells and whistles and woohoo and cheerleading.
Man, are you right? It's funny. I study the same stuff you do on that topic, and you're right. It's, when we look at sales assessments that people take, and we use several different companies, that we've tracked over the last 10 years, you're exactly right. This intrinsic motivation is becoming a bigger part of people's lives, especially with the millennials, and they'll be the biggest part of the marketplace coming in right now.
Yeah.
Right. And extrinsic, meaning the money and the awards and all that, is actually going down. So it's difficult.
I think they've proven time and time it doesn't do that much. So
right.
Why do it? So great.
100%.
Excellent. Thanks.